Hey guys, Basil and Will with Grayson Hobby, and congratulations, you made it to part 2. Hopefully your quad is not on fire. But this video is the part 2 of our previous video where we built a 3-inch quad in really a small amount of time.
Yeah, it was a super fast build. So now we're going to go over a little tips and tricks of things we found in the build, as well as just a quick configuration, just going through the settings and giving you an idea of what to look for when you're setting one up.
So here is part 2.
So here's where we're at. We are at a completely built quad that we have not tested yet. So the first thing I'm going to do, I am going to use a SmokeStopper. Not that I feel like it really is truly needed on this one because everything's plug and play, but you never know. Things happen.
Could have crossed the streams.
Yeah. So we're going to do the SmokeStopper here. I'm going to plug in, and this is an adapter to go to our XT60 SmokeStopper that we sell, and plug it in. It's good to go. No smoke, no fires, nobody running.
If there's a problem, that green light would be...
If there's a short circuit, the LED would be off.
Okay, so we're good to go. So we are good to go.
Okay. So now we're going to switch over to the actual battery it's supposed to use.
And what size?
It's a 450 milliamp 4-cell. Similar to what you'd get like on the ET125s and all that for those of you who might already have one and you're looking to build a kit. So let's get this quad hooked up to the computer and just check a couple things first. We will also need our transmitter to bind it. So basically at this point all we need to do is bind it, make sure the motors run up and in the right order and all that, and just go over a couple things there and then get it going. Alright, so the first step of this, because we decided to use a CrossFire receiver, we will have to bind the receiver to the CrossFire module, which will help configure it later on as far as the channel mapping, etc. I'm currently have a pre-programmed setup that I did on another quad that I've saved onto the jumper. I've created a new model from one of the ET125 builds we did. So basically all I'm doing here is going to the model and I'm making sure I have external module because CrossFire is external. I'm setting the 16 channel, and now that we have the CrossFire turned on, we can go to the back of this. We're going to go here, and then I'm going to plug in my quad.
You could do this in the lure scripts, but this is way easier.
Yeah, this is the fully loaded model. This was, so we're going to push and hold the button, go to the devices, go to bind, and do we want to update? Sure, why not?
So all this is updating.
And this is why you spend the extra $50.
So we're bound up, right?
Yeah, we are bound, and let's go on the receiver tab, just move stuff around. Oh, I probably need a power cycle with this, don't I? Oh, actually, now that we're bound, we have to configure, duh. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna go on the setup page. I like to just go ahead and while I have it, put it on a level surface, and in this case, just because the battery strap's on that, I'm just gonna go ahead and calibrate the gyro. That way I don't forget to do it later and the quad flies like crap. If you're using leveling mode. Next up is the ports. Make sure you have serial RX turned on UART2, and then tramp, immersion RC tramp, which should be defaulted on the flight controller when you get it, on UART1. You're not having anything else click, so we're going to save and reboot there. And then configuration page, go down. This is where pretty much you need to set up. I like to use motor stop. That's me. Some people don't. Whatever floats your boat on that one. All this is already set. Arming angle, if you're going to use turtle mode, go ahead and set that to 180 so it can arm no matter what angle it's at. 8K accelerometer's on, doesn't have barometer. Okay, and this is a receiver, serial-based receiver. Because we are using CrossFire, we need to set it to CrossFire. Otherwise, we won't get any movement on the sticks. Alright, I'm going to go on, just turn on telemetry, LED strips on, display, OLED, no, it doesn't have that. Air mode's not permanently on, which is more what I would want. If you want air mode permanently on to where you don't have it switch into a mode, you can do that. I would leave that alone. On-screen display, yeah, we want that. And yeah. Because this doesn't have a beeper on it, like an actual beeper soldered to it, I am going to go through and I am going to set a motor beacon on a switch. So I'm going to set it to like 3. You can lower it, raise it. Just remember it does heat up the motors if you go too high. RX set, save it, and then the other thing I'm going to do is in the beeper configuration, because I'm using not using air mode and all that, I am going to turn this off. Otherwise, as soon as you arm it, it's sitting on the ground with the motors off, the prop's not spinning, it's sitting there yelling at you. So I'm going to turn this one off, and then I'm going to save and reboot. Connect back. and then we're going to go to our receiver tab. So I'm skipping the power and battery and PID tuning and receiver. I want to get to this one just to show you guys. The channel mapping, default it is AETR on this particular model that we set up in the radio. If you used like the JR Spectrum style, then you can go in here and change it, which would change the channel mapping default. You can also do custom ones, but for the most part, you're going to either do aileron first or throttle first, depending on what configuration you do on these right here. So in this case, because we're using a more of a default jumper setup, we're going to use default in here, and then pretty much that's all you need to set on that one. If you have some jittery sticks, like your sticks are kind of jittering a little bit and you're getting a little bit like a 0.12 movement, you can go in here and set deadband if you really want to. The RC deadband's overall, yaw is just for the yaw stick. If you find yourself twitching a lot from your hand, you can actually add a little deadband in there as well. I'm just going to save this again. So now that's saved, I'm going to go to the modes.
Telemetry
Before I go too far, one thing to point out, you will see I do have a battery installed on this. The receiver does not power up through the flight controller with USB only. So if I see I got movement here, if I unplug my battery, guess what? No more movement. So you do need to have a battery installed for that. It is better practice to not have the battery on, setting up as much as you can. But for this kind of case, because the VTX will get hot and all that, and it's sitting there with no airflow. So I generally try to set up as much as I can without the battery, but we're just going through this real quick for you guys.
And also, no props.
Yeah, no props on, definitely last step here. So I'm going to go ahead and add some modes here. I'm adding the range, I'm clicking it. All you got to do is flip the switch that you want to use once it's configured, save it. So that's my arm. I'm going to do a flight mode switch. We're going to do this one. So I'm going to go through here.
Yeah, do my flight mode.
And then flight mode. Yeah, in this particular case, he has E for his second aux switch, so we're going to set that up. I'm going to go ahead and set that. And I'm going to skip down a little bit while I do this because it's just the way I go. I'm going to put air mode also on the same switch. And I'm going to scroll this over. So air mode will be active in both horizon and acro. And then the next thing we want, the beeper. Do you have a beeper switch on this one?
Yeah, the big long one.
This one? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so his aux 3 is switch C, so I'm going to set that up there.
Oh, look at that.
And then there's really not much else to set that you have to except for turtle mode. And let's see, flip over after crash. So we got that on aux 4. I'm going to put that all the way to the right, so I have to switch it all the way down so I don't accidentally do that. Now for pre-arm, I like to use the pre-arm switch on a lot of these quads now because it's a good safety. In this case, we don't have it activated on this is not a switch yet, so we got to go through and set one up real quick.
Yep.
All right, so the next thing, because this CrossFire is set up as a 12 channel and not 8 channel, he's got all the switches assigned here. We are going to use switch H because it's a momentary, which in this case is aux 5. Now that I see that, I'm going back to the modes, and which you don't really need to see it, but I wanted to make sure it was working because I didn't know if you had it set up or not. I'm going to add the range and hit the switch. Now you'll see aux 5 there. And again, the aux will be dependent on what you assign the switch channel to. I'm going to move the slider all the way over. That way you see the little crosshair move to it. Save here. And then that's pretty much all I'm going to do on this one. You can add, if you want to get fancy, you can add more stuff to this if you need to, but that covers most of the bases. Now that we got that set up, I do want to check my motors. And
this is the important part right here.
Here, again, props are off. And you don't want to go full throttle the whole time. All I'm doing is, one, I'm going to make sure my motors spin. All right, they spin. So I'm going to check motor 1 is my back right. Back right, check. Motor 2, check. Motor 3, good. Motor 4. Now the other thing is to check the direction it spins. So this is going to be the fun part. With these little guys, they're kind of hard to tell sometimes.
I've put a piece of tape on mine before.
Yeah, you can see where it spins.
Yeah.
That one's spinning inwards.
So now we're just making sure the direction.
Spinning inwards. And yes, the twitching at really, really low throttle is normal. And that one's spinning inwards. And that one's spinning inwards. So they're all spinning the proper directions. Got lucky on this one.
We didn't get lucky. We followed the 1, 2, 3, 4. Huh.
Just in case the wiring order is different
or you okay
and soldered, it's not guaranteed that they are going to spin the proper directions out of the box. So you do need to check that. If they are the wrong direction, you go into BL Heli and reverse the direction of the two. I believe they've went ahead and reversed them and wired them all the same, but always check it. Don't make an assumption on that.
Check it, but
if you don't check it, it could just flip over on takeoff.
Gotcha. So that's Will's PSA for the day.
I'm just going to go into OSD just to kind of show you some stuff real quick. Crosshairs, I don't care if everybody else doesn't. I like my crosshairs. I'm going to do my battery voltage here. And I'm just going to drag and drop it to the corner. And then I like my disarmed notification right here, which will only pop up when it's disarmed. Let's see what else we got.
RSSI video channel.
Yeah, I mean, you can use all that stuff if that's what you want to use on it. All right, I went ahead and unplugged the battery just because it was getting warm here. But as far as the VTX settings, you go to the video transmitter. I went ahead and just entered directly just for the sake of testing this and all that. But the tables are actually already loaded. But if you do need to, for some reason, load them, you click here, and it'll take you to the GitHub page to where you can download the files you need. So everything's there. So that's that. And then I'm just going to save. And then LED strip. There's no LEDs equipped on this quad, but it has the capability of it. If you add LEDs later, your call. Black box. This does have a black box on the flight controller if you want to set that up. I haven't used black box in a while because the quads fly pretty good out of the box. And then CLI's there if you need to do it. So that's pretty much all there is to it. As long as if you set up a quad before or have a pre-configured quad, you can pretty much copy your old model and then use that as a baseline and then just assign your switches properly. All right, so now the next thing is installing the props. And I'm gonna go ahead and put them on. Now you can reverse the direction if you want to run the props outwards instead of inwards. You just go into the configuration and change that. The screws for the props are in the bags that came with the motors.
And what size would they be?
It looks like a 2x7. Yeah. So each bag that came with the motors has 2 of them in there. So you'll just use those and screw them in. And then the prop orientation that we got going on here is the high side of the blade is going to go spin inwards like that. So let's see, do these actually say R or not? Yeah, they will say this is 2x3 R, 2x3, 2x3, 2x3 R. So these are reversed, these are regular.
The last one.
Last screw here. All right, and also after looking back, the extra screws, if you want to get fancy and use the gray looking silver screws, there are 2x7s. I don't know if there's enough. I think there is. It looks like there's 8 in there without counting it. But the motor bags did come with them too. So you should have some either in the offset colors kit like it comes with, or the ones that came on it. I just used the ones that came with the motors. And
so since Will's an expert, he can do this inside, but I recommend if this is your first build, you may want to go outside.
And she flies.
Hey, look at that.
Damn, that's not even a third throttle and it's climbing.
No, here goes the little punchy. Alright, so what do you do when you first test?
I mean, I just make sure it hovered for a minute or so. Land it. Check the motor temps, make sure you don't have any hot motors. No, not at all.
Cool. Alright, well that's about it, right?
Yeah. So now, in this case, I need to charge a battery. So I'd say this is a great kit if you want to learn how to build, if you want to start building yourself with it. It's very minimal soldering. If you already have something like you jump from an ET-115, 125, you already have a radio that will, and receivers for it. This is a great little learn to build kit that's, you can focus on setting it up, but there's still enough of it. It's pretty easy to get going in the air and get you going without a lot of frustration, which is a lot of, like, if you part together your own stuff, a lot of times there's a lot of head scratching going on with why is this not working?
Nope. All right. I hear you. Oh, there you are. All right, now you're in one with the machine.
Yeah, it flies good. It does. It's light. I can feel that it's light. You know what I
Plenty of power?
Yeah, it's fast. We need to adjust the tunage a little bit, man.
Yeah, it's totally stock tune. Literally
Okay.
right out of the box. So what's it doing that you need to adjust? We're not doing?
It's a little bumpy in the, like in the turns. It's a little like up and down. Like it's kind of like driving on the train tracks.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like da 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 da.
You think because you're used to a 5-inch, or is it just really the tune?
I'm just seeing a little bumpy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it was my 5-inch quad, I would say the same. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. No, I'm just saying. I wonder if it's because it's a 5-inch, or you're used to flying 5-inch.
I think we can tune it a little bit and get it smoother,
Okay.
or at least try.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
You know what? I want to check the rates out too, because I'm used to the rates being a little different.
Yeah.
And I could probably fly it a little bit
Now you remember
more gracefully. You know what I mean?
got you.
With,
This is, I don't know if we check the tunes, if it's default tunes, but I know most of it is already set up, and since it's being like a beginner-ish kind of build.
right. And see, for a beginner, I would tone the rates down a little bit from where they are.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'd make it
Gotcha.
a little bit less sensitive at center stick.
So you're kind of in that no man's land right now, kind of what you said. Too much
I can
for
fly
beginners?
anything.
Yeah. No, I'm saying too much
I
for
think
beginners?
you could start out and learn, you know what I mean? A beginner could learn to fly this, but I think they're going to have less walking with a little bit lower rates. Does that make sense?
Yep, sure
Walking
does.
is crashing equals walking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and that's what I tell people, like, especially even with the, like the modes, the different modes, I tell them, I'm like, man, when I first learned to fly, I used the self-leveling modes. And then I finally decided, all right, I'm going to only fly in acro mode. You know what I mean? No self-leveling at all. And I had to do all that walking all over again. Like, because I had to, I crashed a lot and learned to fly with the assistance. And then I had to turn the assistance off, and I crashed a lot and had to learn to fly. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if it depends on, I'll tell guys, I'm like, look, man, if you want to fly like I do, don't even put the self-leveling crap on a switch. Just don't even have it as an option.
Only reason why I use self-leveling is when I land. I cannot land.
And there's some tricks I can, the next time we get out flying, I'll kind of walk you through some of the tricks I use for landing. Like
I get close, put it in, level mode, and I just plop it. I usually take my goggles off when I land it. Sometimes my angle is just so high.
I cannot fly line of sight. Well, here's the thing. I can fly line of sight as long as I keep it tail in.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Now, if I try and do a yaw spin and I go too far, it's just disarm. Because, yeah, this thing flies good, man.
Not bad for $104 and about an hour's worth of work, huh?
No, yeah, that's, and then all you need is a couple batteries and a charger and some goggles and a radio, and you're good to go.
Yeah. But a lot of people want to build, and I think it has, we said 4 or 5 wires you have to solder, battery and
That's
receiver.
not bad.
No, so it gets the person
building. Yeah,
right?
It gets them some experience. This thing's got a good flight time too, man. Like I got 14.7 out. Oh, disarm. Yeah, one thing I noticed about little quads, they don't have the momentum that the big quads do. So that takes a little getting used to, but
looks like
it'll go everywhere the big one will, and then places the big one won't. You know what I mean? It's got good power, man.
So you fixed that tune, you think?
Made
improvements?
It feels like it's not so bumpy in the turns. It takes me, a couple of weeks of flying a quad. You know what I mean?
A couple of weeks and a couple of packs?
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, you can get it flying real good in a couple of batteries. But for me, like, it takes a couple of weeks because I'll go fly it and record, and then go home and look and see what it's doing. You know what I mean? And try and remember the next time I go fly. And I've learned you got to tell yourself, like, if you're flying and then you change some settings, you need to tell the GoPro, like, hey, I just upped the P on pitch or roll or whatever. And then when you watch your footage back, you can see if it's better or worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so take little audio notes, right?
Yeah. Took me a minute to figure that out.
No, I just changed stuff.
Well, and I do too. But then, like, you'll get it better, but you don't know what you did to make it better, and then you changed it again, and then it's worse. You know what I mean? Like, if I give myself... There's a camper back there.
There is.
Yeah, it still needs some tuning, but the fly's good, man. It's got potential for show.
That's good. Yeah, it's not a bad little build.
Oh, for $100? Fuck, this shit's fucking awesome. How much are batteries for it?
What's the 4S battery cost?
The little guy.
15 bucks?
So you spend freaking like 60 bucks. You'll have a nice stack of batteries. That's 160 bucks. That's especially for somebody that's already got a quad. You know what I mean? So they've already got a radio and.
Yeah, they already have a...
Yeah, if they already, yeah. Well, if they got one of those ready to fly kits, all-in-one suckers, you know. Or if they just want to build one. You know, if you're buying a Diatone or iflight or whatever.
Clunk.
Alright, let's go see your motors. Oh, the motors are cool as a cucumber.
All I did was slide the PV thing up and